Hello and welcome to my reflections on the story and the life of Jesus. And in today's video, we're going to talk about an example, following an example to be more specific. And so what we see Jesus has done is he's spoken to the religious leaders and he's answered them, and they can't match his wisdom. And so they decide they're not going to ask him any more questions. And so Jesus now turns to his disciples and he begins to talk to his disciples and said, these religious leaders, they hold a place of authority in culture. And so listen to them. Do what they tell you to do, but do not become like them. Do not follow their example. He goes on to say how they're blind guides. They themselves are falling into holes, so don't fall into the same holes and traps that they fall into. In fact, he says they're just looking for the places of honor. They just want to be seen by other people, and they want to be celebrated by people. They want to kind of brag, and they want to live this lifestyle that looks clean and squeaky and religious and right. They want the places of honor, but they don't live in a way that deserves honor. It says that they love to sit at the most important places so that they could be honored by people. And you know what I see in this whole thing, other than the fact that he tells his disciples, do not become like them. In fact, you yourselves aren't to be instructors. You yourselves aren't to be called teachers and rabbis and all of that, because you have one instructor, you have one teacher, you have one Lord, and it's the Messiah. And so he's saying we should look to following Jesus. Yes, there's authorities and systems and things that we have to live in and honor in that, but become like Jesus, he is saying. And what interests me in this whole thing is everything that the religious leaders were supposed to be, they couldn't be. Even more, everything that they were supposed to be, Jesus was. Jesus didn't look for the seat of honor. He looked for the place to serve. Jesus didn't try and do everything in public places. Jesus went to private places. Jesus did things in secret so that he wouldn't receive all the praise, but that God would receive all of the praise. Jesus is very anti the culture and the systems of this world. If we just try to live religiously, then our life will look like that. It'll look clean on the outside, but on the inside it would decay. And that's the exact thing that Jesus criticized the religious leaders of his day for. They looked great on the outside, but on the inside they were full of decay. And he begins to say, woe to you, woe to you, woe to you, woe to you. And he calls them hypocrites. It's a terrible thing to say and to teach one thing, but to live completely another thing. Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the one that we find is the fulfillment of all of our hopes. He is the one we can not just do what he says, but we can do what he did. And we can become like Jesus, people who see in the world because he has shown us the way. So my reflection is this: let us follow the example of Jesus in the way that we live, the way that we think, the way that we speak. And let us become an example of what following Jesus is like. We will not be perfect. You can take that weight off your shoulder, but we have a guide that we can follow, one who is humble, one that is true, one that is kind, and one that wants to lead us in love. So let us become more like Jesus. Well, I hope that has been helpful to you, that as you walk out this day, that you can look to the example of Jesus and become an example for other people to follow. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this reflection and what this part of the story of Matthew and his account of Jesus' life, what this means to you. God bless you, and I'll see you again in the next video.